pivoting to your professional career a little bit more. Yeah. So how long do you want to keep hooping for?
So for me, I'm not so sure yet. I'm trying to kind of figure that out. I've played for 10 years now, played in 15 countries. I most recently, in my most recent contract, this was back in October, I fractured my tibia and ruptured my deltoid ligaments. So I basically, I was playing defense and I kind of stepped wrong, and basically the bottom part of my foot touched the middle part of my shin, so I snapped everything and had a couple of different surgeries. So I'm just recovering from that right now. The last time I played was back in October of 2022. And I've just really started to train, get back in the weight room. Hopefully this month of August, I'll actually get to return to the court and do some on the court stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going to keep playing or not. I have a goal of trying to maybe return back to playing in November or December, depending on how my body feels. And that's going to be really just if I'm ready or not. And if I can keep playing, it's more about how my ankle holds up right now. I'm kind of at that point where I'm trying to figure out of transitioning and going to, being an adult, like a real adult, and not like a guy who just plays basketball for a while. So that's kind of an interesting transition and figuring out, what I want to do next. Working on that. I spent the last few months trying to figure that out, and added some certificates and some, been working a little bit on the side, doing some snorkeling tours and training kids and driving Uber and just doing stuff to try and, make a little money and figure out what I want to do next. But that's a good question. If my ankle holds up, maybe 2-3 more years. If my ankle doesn't hold up, maybe a year. I'm kind of at that point where I'm just trying to make it back to say I can retire how I want to retire. I don't want to be forced into retirement because I got injured. So we're kind of seeing. And if everything goes well, like maybe 3-4 years, if I can get some residency down here in Puerto Rico and play as a local in this league, I might end up playing a little bit longer. So it's kind of undetermined at the moment, but I do plan on trying to go back and play. It's just how long and how much my body holds up, and if my girlfriend likes me to keep playing too. So
good deal.
She's on the couch. She just stared at me. She just gave me the glare.
Good deal. And yeah, talking, we've talked a lot about the basketball player. Just as a person, how have you grown since your days in college?
Exponentially. I have my view of the world has been completely flipped on its head since I was a college kid. I've had a lot of amazing experiences. I've lived in so many places, lived in a lot of different cultures. Some I've really enjoyed. Some I've been like, I'm going to kick that to the curb and I'm never coming back here again. But the cool thing is about this job and about playing basketball around the world is I got a lot of connections. I've made a lot of friendships with a lot of people that I would never, ever have a chance to meet. I've gotten to really understand cultures. That's one of my favorite things about the job is, people go and travel for, 2 weeks at a time, or they go to a spot for a weekend or a week. And they're just like, oh, it's so cool here. And when you play in a different country and you actually live there for, multiple months at a time, almost a full year, you get to know the guy's name at the grocery store. You get to know different restaurants. You get to kind of really understand, holiday traditions or why people are the way they are that way. Like, hey, this happened in this time in history for them. For me, I spent a couple of stints up in Lithuania. And I had a couple of really cool teammates that I would hang out that wore Lithuanian, and I didn't know a lot of the history about what had happened in Lithuania. It's one of the newest countries in the EU. It hadn't actually been free from Russian rule since before 1990. So yeah, it's really interesting. You get to learn a lot of history of places. And so for me, I've just grown to have a really good understanding of cultures, people. My patience for a lot of things has changed quite a bit in terms of some places you can go really fast. Other places you got to just wait, and that's the way it is. And so for me, I have really grown in that sense, and just had an appreciation for relationships. Some of my friendships, my family, and really an appreciation for time spent with people I care about. Because for the last 10 years, I've been alone a lot. I've had people come and visit me, but for the most part, you go to these countries, and unless you bring your family, which I haven't had a family, I've had my immediate family back home, but I don't have kids. Just have a girlfriend right now and a little furry dog that hangs out with us or hangs out with me, and those are kind of things. You get really good at spending time by yourself, and that is something that I have grown to greatly appreciate as well.
Sure. Well, very cool, very cool, and obviously. So you kind of talked about a little bit. You've played all over the world. I have a little challenge for you. I have every team you've played for over your career, and I want to see. Can you name which country you played in each year of your career, starting from when you graduated college in 2013? Can you name each country you played in year by year?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's start.
So
my
first year, I can't tell you the year because I always kind of forget about it, but I can remember it. So my first year, I played for a team called Hapoel Jerusalem in Israel.
Okay.
My second year, I played for a team called KK Grusuple in Slovenia. Halfway through that year, I got cut. I went to a team that was in Malta. Oh, man. What was our name? I'm really drawing a blank on the name for my team in Malta.
No worries. All you gotta give is the country.
Okay, so I can't remember the team name in there. After I went to Malta, I went and played for a team called Bærum Basket in Oslo, Norway, or Bærum, Norway, which is a suburb of Oslo. After I got done with Norway, I went and played in Sweden. And I went and played for a team called Jämtland in northern Sweden, about 2 hours south of the Arctic, or 3 hours south of the Arctic Circle. After Sweden, I went and played for a team called Ventspils in Latvia. After Latvia, I went and played for a team in Lithuania. At the time, we were called Sky Cop, but the city was in... not Pasvalis. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the name. I can't remember the name of the city. So after that, I went and played for a team in Siberia. We were called NSA. So I played in a city called Krasnoyarsk, Russia, or Syria, or Siberia. After Siberia, I went to play for a team in Greece called Rhodos. So I lived on the island of Rhodos. The second or third biggest island in Greece. I got cut from that team, and I went to go play in Lithuania again in a city called Panevėžys for the Milk Stars. Fun fact is Ben Bruss played for that team as well when he first started out. So after Lithuania, that was the year that COVID happened. And so I got sent home early because of COVID. And then that next season, I went and played for a team in Mexico called Zacatecas, which was my first time in Mexico. From Zacatecas, I actually came to Puerto Rico for the first time, played in the bubble, played for a team called Wildest. After Puerto Rico, I went down to Uruguay, and I played for a city called Goes, which was cool, in the capital city of Montevideo. After that, I came back to Puerto Rico, and I played for another team called Bayamon. After Puerto Rico, I went to play in Colombia on a small island in San Andreas called, I think, what was the team name? Cimarrones or something like that. After Colombia, I came back to Puerto Rico, and then I went and played in Taiwan. And then after Taiwan, I came back and I played in Mexico again in Zacatecas.
Jeez, that's pretty wild. I think the website I was using was missing a few teams in the middle there, but no, that is impressive. That is quite the memory you got there to remember each team by the year. I'm impressed there. Yeah, so you've been around. What was that?
Said it was pretty fun. I remember where I moved to. So
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Yeah, so obviously, cultures can be different. If you and fans can be wild in certain countries I've seen overseas, like Serbia. Um, what's the craziest fan story you could give me?
We had some really good fans in northern Sweden. When I played in Sweden, we were in a kind of a smaller town. They actually had a big soccer club too. They had a women's and men's soccer club, but we filled out that like it was the first year they had remodeled an arena. So we had like 2,000, about 2,000 people every game, which was super cool. The craziest fan story I've ever had, though, was my very first year playing. So I played for, it's called Hapoel Jerusalem. It's the second biggest team in Israel, behind a team called Maccabi Tel Aviv. But it's a Euro Cup team. And so when I signed there, my first experience with a game abroad was for a Euro Cup game. So Euro Cup is like inter-European competitions. And so what we did is we flew to Turkey. We flew to a city called Izmir, Turkey. And it's kind of interesting because this was back in 2013, 14. And what had happened, it was probably back in like 2004, 2005. Izmir, Turkey had sent a ship over to a ship full of supplies to help Palestine. And so what had happened was as they sent the ship over, the Israelis had said like, hey, we want to check the ship. The Turks said, no, this is just food and whatever. And Israelis ended up boarding the ship. They had a huge fight. There was a few casualties, everything like that. So there was kind of this previous history with Jerusalem, or Israel specifically, and this specific city. And so we get there and we get to this place and they're kind of telling us like, hey, we're going to have a lot of extra security. We're a Jewish team and they're more of a Muslim city. So we got to make sure, we don't have any real problems with this. So we get off the flight. And as we're getting to the flight, we get to our bus. They have police officers lining up the whole time, like the whole way to our bus, which is like 6 feet from the door. It's like in the very front. I'm like, yo, wow, what's going on? We had a whole like battalion of police officers escorting us to the hotel. When we get to the hotel, we have to wait. They got to check each floor individually, as well as on each floor, we have two Secret Service Israeli, like Secret Service officers there, or like high level military officers just hanging out right by the elevator. On each floor we got to go to. We got to check in. Hey, when we're about to go down for breakfast, we're going to go to breakfast. All right, cool. Hold on 1 second. All right. Yeah, you guys are good to go. Like, so we had to do all that. We get to the game. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. We have so much security. We had like a full SWAT team come with us, and I didn't understand it. And so we get to the game. There's a whole stadium is full of like SWAT team officers all around. The fans are kind of piling in. We're warming up. We're having a good time, whatever, getting ready for the game. And all of a sudden, like, the game's about to start. Like, starting announced, everything like that. And all of a sudden, I'm like dapping up my teammate, Josh Duncan, guy who played at Xavier. I'm like, yo, let's get it, Josh. And he was just like, yeah, no, let's go. Yeah, let's go. No, let's go to the locker room now. And he points down. And I was like, yo, what? And there was a knife. Somebody had thrown a knife at us. And so I was like, bro, so we just sprint to the locker room. All of a sudden, as we're sprinting, like bottle caps, lighters, stuff gets thrown at us. We sprint to the locker room. We hang out there for like 20 minutes. And they're like, all right, you guys got to get back out there. I was like, yo, what? And so then we go back out there, and it was cool because on the other team, there was you remember John Diebler from Ohio State?
Sure, yeah.
So John Diebler was on the other side. I played against him. He knew who I was. We had talked because I guarded him a lot. We talked. Oh, what's up, man? You good? He's like, man, don't worry about that. Like, all those fans got kicked out. That's going to be the end of it. You should be good. All right, cool. We go through the first quarter. About 2 minutes left. One of my teammates, a guy who played at Penn, he's walking. His name is Zach Rosen. He's walking to check into the game. As he's walking to check into the game, a bottle, like a 1.75 or a 0.75, 0.75 of like vodka gets thrown at his feet. It just like rolls. It's a glass bottle. It hits the ground, bounces twice, rolls, and hits him in the foot. He just kind of looks down and like picks it up, sets it on the ground, sets it on the table, and walks in and checks into the game. We're like, yo, where are we right now? So It was a very interesting story for me. The best thing is we ended up losing the game on a last second buzzer beater by 1 point. And to this day, I think that is probably the best outcome to a game I've lost ever, because if we would have won that game, I think pandemonium would have happened. So I was cool with it. Like that was by far one of my craziest fan experiences. And it was my first.
That was what's coming to my mind. Like, not that I want to be intentionally blowing the game, but I wouldn't want to win that game. I just wouldn't want to see what would happen if I won the game. But that's unreal. What was your mindset at? What were your mentals at during the game? Like how are you even dapping up your teammate before the game? I would have been in the locker room before the game. I wouldn't have played. But like, how are you playing through that? For me,
it's you just like. So I had conversations with guys like this kind of comes back to how I grew up. Like I had guys that had told me, had played overseas, played in the NBA. They kind of told me, they were like, "You're going to see some crazy stuff. People are going to talk crazy to you. They're going to say wild things to you. The best thing you can do and the smartest thing you can do is just not react." Always kind of be aware of your surroundings. And if you got to get out of there, get out of there. Like, and that's kind of what it is. And the rest of it is figure out how to do your job. Like it's just figure out how to do your job. And your job is to play defense. Your job is to shoot shots. It's just do your best to block everything out and just hope that you're safe. Like this is the other thing is if you intend, like this is the biggest thing that I have learned throughout my time. If you invite problems or you act on other people's problems, they become yours. And so for me, it was, hey, don't speak to anybody there. Don't make any crazy gestures. Just play, do your job, and get up out of here. That is the biggest thing that I could do. And for me, I had really great teammates. I was the young guy on my team. I had guys that had played. I had 3 on that team in Israel. I had 3 EuroLeague champions, guys that had played in the EuroLeague and won titles in the EuroLeague. I had a couple guys that had won Euro Cup championships that have played all over the world, like guys that have played in Serbia, guys that have, Serbia is one of the more extreme places, but Turkey gets crazy. Some of those Middle East countries gets really crazy. In Israel, for us, like our home court, we had 3,000 people there every game going crazy, throwing firecrackers and flames and fireworks and stuff like that on the court, everything. So I had guys that had that experience and they were super cool. They were like, don't worry about it. Just keep your head and keep it moving and we'll be good.
What would happen in a hypothetical situation? Like, I don't want to play this game. I just don't want to be in that situation. What would happen? Would you lose your job or?
They'll probably fine you. And like the problem with that is like if you do that, like it depends on the situation too. If it's just like I don't feel safe because of this, and this, and you have like validity for it, you shouldn't have a problem. But like if you're just like, nah, I'm not feeling this. Like for me, like so I played in Colombia, and the problem was so we played on San Andreas, which is a small island off the coast of Nicaragua, and the stadium we played at was right next to the ocean, and they didn't have any air conditioning, and they played 3 games a day. We were the third game or the middle game, and the humidity was such that it was an ice rink on the floor. And like basically both of our team, like I told my GM and my coach, I'm like, I'm not playing today. And they were like, why not? Do you see what's going on the floor? Like I can't even walk out here, like without almost falling on my face. And they were like, well, that's up to you then, I guess. And I was like, it is up to me and I'm not playing. And like, basically, like I had league officials come and talk to me and be like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you playing? They were like, the league was like, we're going to fine you and any player that doesn't play, you're going to get fined. The team is going to get fined, all that stuff. We ended up not playing the game. And I said, that's fine. You can fine me and do whatever. I will go home. I don't care.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you get into these situations that are like super dangerous for you as a player or anything like that. And if that's the case, you got to just accept the consequences. And if they say, hey, if you don't play this game, you're fired. Cool. I'll leave. Like you gotta, there's a certain point where it's like, you're an individual contractor and you got to make those decisions for yourselves and live with the ramifications. And so if, for me, especially in that situation, it was, I'm not about to risk my health for me to play this game right now. Like it's not worth it. So that's kind of one thing about basketball is like, not all money is good money in basketball.
Yeah. Wow. No, Yeah, no, you hit that out of the park. Those are incredible stories there. I'm just trying to think if I have any questions to follow up there. I mean, outside of the arena, have you? I mean, if you don't want to share anything, I understand. But have you had any wild situations pop up outside of the basketball arena?
Nothing super crazy. Like for me, most of the time, fans or people are usually really cool. It depends on the country you're in. For me, I had a couple of different problems in Lithuania. Actually, they have what's called a face policy at bars. So if they don't like your face, you can get on out of here. And in Lithuania is a lot more. It's kind of it was part of the Soviet Union for a very long time, but it was also someplace that was resisting the Soviet Union for a very long time. And so, for me, I've had a couple of run-ins with bars that were just like, no, we don't want to let you in. And it was mostly because I had long hair, which was kind of interesting. The other funny one, so I was playing in Siberia. I was with one of my teammates. We were at one of the nicer restaurants in the city. We had just came back from a break. We were hanging out, just having dinner and a glass of wine, just kind of chilling. And it's me and him. And there's a guy behind me with his wife or girlfriend. We're not really sure which. But all of a sudden, we're just sitting, eating, kind of talking about the differences between Russia and America, because, where I was at in Russia, it's quite a bit different. So we were just kind of talking about some of the differences of that, as well as the guy I was with, his name's Alex Young. He had played in a lot of different countries as well. So we were just, talking about different experiences. And all of a sudden I get a tap on my shoulder, and he had kind of stopped talking and kind of looked up, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and this Russian dude, he speaks to me in pretty broken English, but kind of understood it. He's like, "Why you have hair like woman?" I said, "I'm sorry, what?" Whatever, bro. Just go sit down. I'm not trying to deal with you right now. He's like, "No, you tell me why you have hair like woman." And I was like, I'm just he kind of stood over me. I'm sitting down and he stood over me, and I was like, I don't know what this situation is going to entail, but I'm not really sure if I like it or not. And so then all of a sudden I was like, yo, just go sit down. We don't have a problem with you. Let us be. We're not talking. We hadn't said. And the thing was, we hadn't said anything to this guy. And we hadn't said anything disrespectful about Russia or anything like that. We were just talking about differences. He goes, "No, am I allowed to swear on this?"
Go for it, man. Go for it. I'll just have a little E next to the episode.
He goes, "Fuck you. Why you have hair like woman? I don't like you or your hair." And he stepped over me again. And I was like, all right, I'm not about to deal with this. So I stand up, and he looks at me. He goes, "Why you have hair like woman?" And he pushes his fingers into my chest. And I was like, bro, sit down or we're going to have a problem. And this thing is, I'm not trying to fight in Russia. I get that. I'm American. It's me and my teammate. And I'm like, I'm not trying to have this problem. And so all of a sudden the servers come over, and they're like, it's these three Russian girls who are super tiny that can't do anything. The guy was maybe 5'8". He was small. He wasn't that big. And I'm 6'7", my teammate is 6'6". So we'll be able to handle ourselves if we want. And then all of a sudden, his wife starts talking crazy to my teammate, saying some very vulgar and very racist things to him. Okay. She starts talking crazy to me. All of a sudden, there's two police officers outside, and I just look at my teammate, and I'm like, "Hey, we're just gonna leave and go pay. We're not gonna finish our meal. We're just gonna get up out of here. There is no point for us." Because we were about he punched me, and I moved him, and then he was about to come and fight me again. And I was like, "Hey man, we don't want any problems. Let's just leave." And that was the end of our day. The big thing is if things like that happen, you got to really understand where you are in the world. Yeah. And what's the political climate for you? And for me, it was, all right, I'm an American dude with long hair. I got my teammate. He's definitely not from here. We're both Americans. We're in Russia. We're going to fight with a Russian dude. We're probably going to get the short end of that stick. So let's just get up out of here.
Well, yeah, obviously that was the wise decision to make, not to escalate it in Russia. Didn't want to, what year was it? What year was this in? Because I don't think
it was in 2018, I think.
Okay. Is that kind of wild to think back just 5 years ago you were playing in Russia, and now it's you can't even go there.
It's an interesting, like, it's just kind of interesting. Like, usually it's fun for me. Like, iPhoto usually brings me back to certain places in the world. With my photos, like somebody's like, oh, featured photo, like, oh, okay, I remember that day. It's cool. Or, very specifically for me, it's always music that kind of brings me back to spots where it's like, oh, I remember this. Like, I listened to this playlist while I was going to practice or stuff like that. So for me, that's always fun. And, it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't like, it's something that I have experienced, and it's kind of interesting for the last 10 years. This has kind of been my expectations of like, oh no, I plan on playing wherever. But, it's really fun for me to, do interviews like this, or even when I'm just speaking with people, it's like, oh no, I did this, and this, or I lived here, and here. And, when I get other people's reaction to it, it's always cool for me, because it's like, oh yeah, I did get to do that. And that was super cool. And like, this was kind of a really rare opportunity, and for me, it's not that I didn't take it, like, appreciate it at the time I was there, but it's like, no, I was there for a job. I expected to be there. And then now that I'm past it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that was kind of dope. It was cool. Like, I'm glad I did it. And for me too, as I've grown and gone through this journey for the last 10 years, like, I think back to my very first time abroad in Jerusalem. Like, I look at that and now I'm like, oh, if I would have known what I know now, I would have done things a little bit differently there. But I still feel like in every country I have taken advantage of being there, and, done my best to, garner relationships with guys who live there, and also just really enjoy my time and do my best to fulfill, like, traveling goals and stuff like that. Not just playing basketball. It's enjoying food, making sure I, try and understand certain holidays, or, if there's some festivals or stuff like that, to go and check those out. So for me, it's been fun.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, one more thing before we hop into our rapid fire round. Yeah. And once again, these stories have been awesome. I appreciate your time, but, the TBT, the basketball tournament's going on right now. And you have the athlete perspective, the pro athlete perspective, but why can't Wisconsin put a team together? I know Trayvon Jackson, he was working on it, and I think you were game to play. But for me, like, why is that a tough thing? Like, for me, like, I think, maybe this doesn't matter to you or other guys, but you play overseas for, say, 10 years like you. Like, I would look at the opportunity to potentially reunite with my old college buddies, play on ESPN again, win $1 million. Like, that all sounds good to me. Like, to carve out a few weeks of my summer. Why can't that happen? Well, why is this not happening?
So when they first started it, it's funny. It's cool. Like, the first year TBT started was the first year I was a pro. And I got asked to play by a guy named Stu Douglas, who played at Michigan. And I didn't end up doing it, which I think was a mistake. But the following years, I actually played for 2 years after that. I played for the second and third year that they had the TBT. And I tried to put a Wisconsin team together. We played, me, Jordan Taylor, a couple other Minnesota guys, and it ended up being more like a Minnesota team. And we tried to maybe make like more of a Big Ten team.
Sure, I remember that.
Yeah, it just didn't really work out. And then it's funny, the next year I ended up playing with Marshall Henderson, and we made it all the way to the Sweet 16. So we did that. I know that Trayvon Hughes put a team together a couple of different times. And I know Trey Jackson, the biggest thing is Trayvon. I actually spoke to him. I was out in Vegas last week.
All right, cool.
For like just with my girlfriend and her family for her birthday. And Trayvon Jackson lives out there. So we were supposed to get breakfast. He got a flat tire about 5 minutes from breakfast. So we actually didn't end up get to hang out. But we spoke on the phone for a little bit. And, he had reached out to me back in January about doing that. And, we had Gary Close coming to be our coach. And he was trying to make it so, basically his ultimate goal is to get Madison to be a TBT site. And so, he's been in contact with guys at the university. He's really well plugged in. He's speaking with guys at the W Club. He's doing his job. The biggest thing is the program itself. From what I understand is it hasn't been sanctioned by Greg Gard and the actual program itself. And that is kind of something that I actually will speak relatively frankly about right now is I feel like the Wisconsin alumni doesn't really go back. And it's not that it doesn't. We don't go back. And that is kind of something that I've been a little bit disappointed with, including myself. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in going back. I think Coach Gard has tried to do his best to mend some of those relationships. But we don't have like a super strong alumni, like some top level programs, which is kind of weird. If you look at it like Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, they always have pros that come back and play in the summer. But ever since I was in college, even when I was in school, the only guys that came back to play with us that were professionals were Kirk Penny, who's a New Zealander, but he would come back because he had a house and he lived in Madison. Mike Wilkinson, because he had a farm and he's a Wisconsin guy. I think Devin Harris came back once, but like Mike Finley never came back. Any guys that had played professionally never came back to the school in the summer. And I don't know if it was because we didn't feel like we were invited, but I feel like it was more we just felt kind of slighted by how our time at Madison had been, especially like I know for me, our exit interviews for leaving school weren't always the best. When I finished up my career was, I kind of asked for some help. Hey, if you got any guidance for me in my pro career or what's going on? Like I plan on trying to go play professionally. And it was kind of like, nah, we can't really help you anymore. Like, thank you for your time here and go we hope you have a great pro career. And if you need another job or you need some recommendations, have them give us a call. We'll give you a glowing recommendation. And so for me, that's kind of how, for me, I felt a little slighted in that way. And especially because, I gave 4 really good years to you guys. I played my ass off and, I sacrificed a lot for the program. And we just don't have that alumni presence, which I think actually hurts the program as a whole. And so for us, like I would really like to see if we can get, more guys to come back. I've talked to Trey about it and he's trying to make it so when guys do come back, it's good for us to come back. It's not that, hey, I got to come back and pay for everything and do everything. It's like, no, we have actually some things set up for guys to come back and train and help out the program, whether it's, hey, staying at a hotel, staying at the W Club or there's a couple of different places that you can stay for alumni that, hey, if we can get some help with that, that would be great. For us to come back and help the program. And especially now that some of the rules have changed, I think that's super normal and really, would really benefit not only the guys that are still playing, because we can come back and have great facilities to train at, but be great for the guys that are in college that we can help them kind of navigate through some of this stuff and be like, hey, this is how you got to approach certain things. But we don't really have that, like Coach Gard really, like the only real contact I've had with the program is the main secretary up in the office. She will message me on Facebook or through email and ask me where I'm living. And then I'll get a box with like a hat and 2 shirts and a note written from Coach Gard, like, hey, best of luck on your season coming up. But other than that, we don't really have any contact with them. And I think the biggest thing right now is trying to mend some of those relationships with the alumni. I think that would be really great if, hey, we're going to actually put this week together. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of everything for you guys. If you guys come up and play with us and help our young guys, I think that will go a long way. And, I know I spoke with Trey and he kind of got ghosted with everything with the program when he was trying to set up the TBT team, which, for me is, I guess they have more important things to do. And I completely understand that, but it's also like, how do you want to grow your program? So for us as alumni, there's only a few guys that really go back and they kind of choose who they want to come back. And that's for them to decide. That's not on us, but I would love to play in the TBT again. I think it would be great, especially if we could get a site in Madison. I know Badger fans would come out because we talked in the beginning of this, Wisconsin, you Scotties are different and you guys would come out and make a great atmosphere. And especially if it was in Madison in the summer, oh man, I know that place would be rocking. So hopefully the program kind of reaches back out to Trey because he's really been the one who's been spearheading it. He's put in a lot of work. He got a coach, he got guys, he was recruiting, he was doing his thing, and he kind of got stalled out by the program. And we hope that, I really hope that they kind of come to their senses and understand like, nah, this would be great for the program. And you see what is going on and it'll help kind of build camaraderie, not only with the alumni, but it also kind of help bridge that gap. of bringing that alumni and helping out the program. Because for me, I love to train guys. I love to give advice. I'm always trying to help out younger guys and help them, not only navigate their college career, but navigating their professional career as well. And I think it'd be super useful.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I look at, you just see it on social media, Ohio State, kind of they put it in the summer, kind of right before their TBT, but they have the big training camp with the alumni, with the current players, or Marquette, just down the road, down 94.
Yep.
You got, they got the TBT team every year. I think they're taking a year off and coming back next year, but they've had a TBT team every year in training camp, and they play the current team. That's super beneficial for both guys, and it creates a bond. It creates a culture that you can really grow. And no, that makes total sense. That's too bad that's the case. Yeah, hopefully they do come to the senses, because as a fan, it would be great, because I love to see some of the players from my childhood. I love to see you play on ESPN again. I love to see all these guys. Sign me up for that. That would be a blast, and it'd be beneficial for the program. So it's fun. It'd be beneficial. Yeah, don't know why it's not happening, or it's disappointing to hear why it's not happening.
We can only do so much. We got to get a little bit of help here now. So for me, that's what I hope. I hope it happens. If Trey comes through, I know I spoke to him, and he's gonna keep pushing for it. So and I reached out and said, hey, if you need any help, if you need me to make some phone calls, whatever I can do to help, because I wouldn't be able to play it in this summer, but next summer I think it'd be a great time.
And just before we hit our rapid fire round, give me kind of a lineup, or maybe a 8-man, 9-man rotation that you kind of would envision for next summer, 2024.
Depends on who we can get to play. I think if we
in a perfect world.
Yeah, if we could get Sam Decker to play, that'd be great. If we could get Nigel, we probably have to look at some other guards that are still playing. The biggest thing is finding guys. Now you can't just be he used to play. He should come and play.
You got to be still playing. Yeah,
it's got to be guys that are still playing, that are still in it, because it's too high level now. The games are way too high level. So we'd have to figure out probably if we could get Micah Potter as a big, because we need some bigs. Nigel Hayes, me, Sam Decker, Jordan Taylor, because he's still playing.
Jordan's still playing.
Yeah, Jordan's still playing. He's going to play again in London here.
Kaminsky? I don't know. I don't want to say he won't be in the NBA.
You can't get any NBA guys. The problem is you can't.
Well, you think he's going to be in the league next year? You think he's going to be in the league next year? Okay.
Yeah. Frank will stay in the league. Frank is now turned into a locker room guy, a veteran on an NBA roster. He'll be your backup center, and Frank is solidified in the league. He's got 2-3 contracts now. Frank will not be. The biggest thing is just
cross off Frank
guard spot.
Yeah. Well, Jordan Taylor. I think he might be one of the most important pieces, if not the most important, because you just need a guy who, I don't know you guys personally or anything, but I feel like he's a guy who wouldn't have an agenda. He would be just there to hoop and to win, to kind of lead as the point guard. Because I feel like you guys, when you play on ESPN again, some guys are okay, I want to get mine. But ultimately, you just want to get that $1 million.
The goal is not to get yours, because there's not really a contract with it. The goal is to win $1 million. So, ultimately, it's you got to figure out how to do that. So, for us, Jordan would be great. Jordan's a pure point guard and still running pick and roll at a super high level. So, I'd love to play with Jordan again. I don't know what Nigel is doing, because he's got a EuroLeague contract. So, I don't know if he can play or not. That's kind of the thing, is you got to look at, what guys have for contracts or what they're coming up with.
All right.
And, for me, I am not super sure who is all playing guard wise in the next few years. So for me, I would look at it maybe me, Jordan Taylor, Sam Decker, Micah Potter, Nigel Hayes, if we can get him. It'd be fun to have Trayvon Hughes back on there, but I don't know. I think he's fully retired now. Maybe Khalil Iverson. He could come in.
Brad Davis.
Yeah, I'd have to think about the guards that we could pick up. For me, I am not exactly sure who is still playing from a guard position with us.
I think Brevin Pritzel, he's still playing. Brad Davison's still playing.
Yeah, I forgot.
I
Brad.
think,
Brad would be great to pick up. Yeah, Brad would be a great pickup for us. I don't know if Bronson is still playing or not.
no, he's not.
Yeah, he's done. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think Brad. Yeah, I think Brad was in Lithuania this year. So yeah, for me, like if we can get just guys, and there's the other thing is we might end up having to bring in a couple of ringers, a couple Big Ten guys that hey, come in and we need to fill out our roster a little bit differently.
sure.
And teams have done that. So for me, that sounds like something that would be great as well.
Yeah, no, I would love to see it. Love to see it. And I got one more round for you, a rapid fire round. So I'll just give you a bunch of questions to answer in a timely fashion. All right.
All right.
All right. Best teammate you've ever had?
Oof. I would probably say Ron Dupree.
Wait. Who's your funniest
Ron Dupree played at
teammate?
LSU. I'm sorry,
Okay.
what?
That's the funniest teammate you've had at Wisconsin.
Funniest teammate I've had at Wisconsin. Oh, JD Wise. No questions.
Okay. All right. Toughest player you've ever had to guard?
In college or as a pro?
Either. Just overall.
Okay, the toughest guy I guarded in college was probably Joe Harris.
Okay.
As a pro, oh man, I've had a few guys that got busy on me. A guy named Jeri Grant, Jerry and Grant's brother. He was super tough.
Interesting. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favorite food?
Amarillos or plantains.
Favorite holiday?
It's kind of a loaded question because, like, I love Christmas, but I've spent so many Christmases by myself, so it's usually not a great one. But we'll go with Christmas.
All right. Favorite movie?
I would have to go probably Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. I've gotten that one before. Favorite sport outside of basketball?
Probably hockey or golf. But most likely
favorite
hockey.
Musical artist?
Oh man, that changes a lot. Right now, now we'll go with probably overall Glass Animals.
All right. Biggest pet peeve?
Oh man, you got a pet peeve for me? It's something that bothers me all the time. Dishes, huh? Yeah, traffic. It's a great one.
All right.
Thank you. Traffic.
Favorite country you've ever played in?
Okay, it's going to be a tie between Norway and Puerto Rico.
Okay. Favorite type of workout?
Oh, Pilates.
Least favorite type of workout?
Running. Any type of running. No.
Okay. Which dunk was better? All right. Your sophomore year over Lauderdale at Ohio State, or senior year against Nebraska?
No, Lauderdale, because he's a giant human.
Yeah.
Lauderdale's a full 7-footer. That man is a bona fide shot blocker. So the fact that I dunked over him, I was way more hyped about that. Like the one in Nebraska was cool, but he was kind of chunky and like trying to take a charge. Whereas like, I really put Lauderdale on the rim. Like, and he's a full shot blocker. Like that's what he does.
Sir. Yeah. What was your favorite season at Wisconsin?
My sophomore year.
Sophomore year, okay.
Sophomore year was super fun. We had just a great group of guys. Won a ton of games. It was super fun.
And I feel like that. Well, this kind of goes to my next question. What was your toughest loss at Wisconsin? Which one bothered you the most, or bothers you the most to this day?
My sophomore year at Michigan State.
Oh, okay. I was expecting an NCAA tournament one.
It was between that or Butler when we lost in the NCAA tournament my sophomore year.
I think you guys had a path to keep going because you guys had between the two-headed monster of Jordan Taylor and John Lure, the Nankiville in the three, and you were playing really well. That was a really underrated team, historically speaking, for Wisconsin.
No, we were super good. The reason I was mad about Michigan State is because if we were up like 7 with like a minute and a half to go and we lost that game, and if we win, we were probably going to tie Ohio State for a Big Ten title. And then the Butler game, I'm super mad at. And to be honest, like I don't care anymore. I'm super mad at Coach Ryan for that one because we practiced 4 hours the day before the game. So we had an hour and a half shoot around on the floor at the arena that we went through. And it was like a full difficult shoot around. Like it was a real shoot around. And then we went to Tulane and we practiced for another 2 hours. And we came out in the game and were completely dead. Nobody had legs. We were super tired. And I was so mad at that. Like we were practicing and I was like, can we get out of here? Like, why are we still here? We just had a huge shoot around. We got a game tomorrow. Like, what are we doing? And it was a lot. I was most mad about that because we came out and looked like we had practiced too much the day before.
Yeah, well, and that makes sense looking back at it because you guys, just didn't have the legs. You were a little flat. So that's that's wild having that backstory there. And thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate your time, and looking forward to staying connected along the way.
All right, thank you very much, man. I had a great time, and if you ever want me to come back on, I'll come and hang out.